the outline for my book were these 10 principles that I kept seeing as a recurring theme throughout my podcast. And knowing that people don't have to go summit Mount Everest, they can connect with nature right in their own backyard. There's beauty to be found right in your own backyard. And when we really stop and look at that, we're going to want to do more to save our planet.
Yeah.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I'm talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope you are too. Thank you hi there. Sorry. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Bolduck, and my guest today is Lauren Connolly. And if you follow me on Instagram at all, I've shared some of Lauren's stuff. But Lauren and I have been talking for quite a while, and she just published her first book. It is called Wildly Unplug. And so Lauren is now an author, and she is also an incredible artist, and she's a podcaster. Yeah. I was on her podcast a couple months ago, and I was like, why have we not had you on my podcast? Let's do that. But so Lauren, why don't you first of all welcome and thank you so much for being here. Can we talk about your book, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's weird being on like this end of the microphone, I guess. But yeah, I'm happy to talk about my book. It still feels very vulnerable. We were just talking about how like art is very vulnerable, but it feels more vulnerable for me with words. Just because I struggle with that a little bit. I've got a little bit of dyslexia and ADHD, and kind of my thoughts are all over the place. But I really hope that it comes across in Wildly Unplugged that my journey that I've been through. I share a lot about how I thought I was in a career that I thought was it. I thought that was what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life, and I absolutely loved it. And I finally realized in 2020 just how burnt out I was, and the signs that it took for me to realize, like, hey, things aren't right and you need a change. And I stepped back from my role. I went part-time, and like the timing of it was just crazy. Like, somebody was looking out for me. I put my 2 weeks in and to go part-time. And when that took effect, the world shut down and they furloughed all part-time employees. And it gave me enough space from that environment to be like, whoa, I need to like just leave altogether. And that summer we spent camping. We were kayaking. I was doing lots of photography, and the job I had before was really cool. I'm not, it was toxic, but it was a really cool job. And I thought that I was only ever going to get these opportunities at this job. And that's why I held on as long as I did. And I think a lot of people do that, whether for the money or the opportunities or the networking, they hold on longer than they need to. And through being outside in nature and getting to be close to wild animals, spoiler, I was at an aquarium before. So there were cool animals there, but I got to see like a beaver out in the wild and it slapped its tail right next to me. I went scuba diving a couple years after I quit and saw a loggerhead sea turtle. I never thought I was going to get to see a loggerhead sea turtle in the wild, and there it was right in front of me. So all these cool moments where I got to reconnect with myself and with nature. And I am just so passionate about sharing that with people, and especially the nature journaling part. The summer of 2020, like I have this scribble and it looks like a scribble, but to me, I can picture the landscape at Red River Gorge in Kentucky and exactly how I felt that summer, and how I could feel my batteries recharging and feel getting in touch with myself, and the way that the sun was and the way the sandstone felt. And it was just like such a light bulb moment that, hey, if we put pencil to paper, we can observe nature and really connect with it. And the more that we connect with nature, the more we're going to fall in love with it and want to conserve it. So, and I've got all these different tips for people through my podcast. I ask everybody at the end, how do you recommend to people to reconnect with nature? And it seems like I get kind of the same 10 answers. Be intentional. Just do it. Prepare for the weather. Explore, like the same 10 things. And that was the outline for my book, were these 10 principles that I kept seeing as a recurring theme throughout my podcast. And knowing that people don't have to go summit Mount Everest. They can connect with nature right in their own backyard. There's beauty to be found right in your own backyard. And when we really stop and look at that, we're going to want to do more to save our planet.
Yeah. Yes. So while you were talking, I was like, oh, I want to change my answer. Cause I remember when I was listening back, I was like, I said, go to the farmer's market. And that is like, that's my standard answer for everything. But I say, get a bird app, start bird watching. I just want to change my answer, please. Months and months later. But I so appreciate that. And I love, and I actually, and while you were talking also, I was thinking I went through a very similar thing just before you, like, like 2019, I was in a very similar place, like total burnout, and I hated my job, but I was like, what else am I gonna do? Like, and then I was in a car accident. But so that like got me out of that. But we have these moments where we're just like stuck, like totally stuck. And then, I'm so glad that you had the wisdom and the wherewithal to just say, you know what, I need to slow down. Because that was not me, but you are much wiser than I am. So good for you. And then just to get out. We were just talking about that, just like put your phone down and stop scrolling and look around you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the book is based on those answers that people have given you.
Yeah, it's based on those 10 themes that I kept seeing come up all the time, which was great. It made it easy to make a book and kind of flesh out some of these things, and being intentional and making it a habit. And then, well, how can we make it a habit? How can we be intentional? We can put our phones on airplane mode so we're not tempted to look at our phones. We could download maps, or you can even use certain apps without needing internet. Sometimes, like the Seek app is great. You don't have to have internet, but you can still use your phone. Just because it's kind of a double-edged sword. The phones are great, don't get me wrong, and they just suck us in, and we can't look out beyond that sometimes. But also, it's great to help us identify the things that are right in front of us.
Yeah.
So it is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, the technology is amazing, and the fact that we can do so much, anywhere and get so much done. But then there's also like it's an addiction. So, but I mean, I said use the bird app because I think when I was in Maine, we had a bird book, like an identification book, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start with that.
Mhm.
But the bird apps are so dang cool. You can just say this bird was like black and brown and yellow, and then a robin picture pops up, and you're like, that's the one.
Yeah.
Or, I use the Merlin app. Like a lot of people, do you use the Merlin app? Do you?
I love the
Oh
Merlin
my
app.
gosh. I'll just be walking the dog in the morning and just like hit the, sound recorder, and it'll be like, oh, there's like 18 birds in a 10-minute span. I'm like, oh gosh, it's so cool.
It's one of my favorite things to do while I'm journaling is to just turn the Merlin app on and just have it sitting there and then I'll write down all the birds that it hears and I'll try and identify them. When I do my bird program with school kids, I pick about 10 to 15 of the most popular birds in that area and I'll go over the bird sounds. Like if you can recognize this sound, like if you can hear a chickadee going chickadee dee 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 dee, then okay, look for something small with a black head. And once you hear it, or like a cardinal has a beautiful sound.
Yep.
Recognize the song. Okay, I'm looking for something red. It came from that direction. It makes it easier to spot.
Right.
It's a slippery slope birding because then if
Oh
you're
my
with
gosh.
professional birders, they're like, oh, it's in that sycamore tree over there. And I was like, I have no idea what a sycamore tree looks like or an oak tree. So then I had to then learn these other trees. And that's something else I talk about in the book too. Like start with
Oh,
what
so
you
it starts
love.
with birds and then it expands to trees. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And start with what you love. Don't get overwhelmed. And then it will branch out and it will grow from there.
hmm. I just love when you hear the sound and then you identify the bird and then you get a picture, you can be like, I see it. I
Yeah.
see it. And then you see it all the time and you're like, oh, that's so cool. Like now you've got, they call him a lifer, but like I have in my place in Virginia, there's a mockingbird that hangs out on the power lines right in my driveway and talks to me all morning. Like when we're walking the dog and stuff like that, I can see, I say good morning. You're very
Have
pretty.
have you heard him make any weird noises yet?
Weird noises.
I had one that would imitate a squeaky gate, like fence gate.
No, that's so cool. I don't.
And I'm like, where is this sound coming from? And then eventually, like, I literally saw the bird open his mouth and make the sound. And it also made a frog noise one time, too. It was when I lived in my old house. So I haven't seen them in a while, but like they can make all sorts of crazy cool noises.
I have not noticed. I have not noticed. It's just a very pretty song so far.
Mm.
But and the hummingbirds. Oh my goodness.
Gosh, they're coming back.
Yeah. I mean, I've took a video of my male that's been here for I don't know, a week or so, but I had like 4 or 5 last year and they were like dive bombing me sitting on the deck. It's pretty funny. And they're so loud when they get very excited, like when there's a few of them and they get very excited. Ooh,
Yeah.
birds.
I never knew they made noises. I had a hummingbird feeder ring that I just bought at like Wild Birds Unlimited. And I had it sitting in my house for years and I'm finally like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. And my husband's like, it's never gonna work. They're never gonna come to you. I'm like, I'm gonna get one in like 5 minutes. Just you wait and see. It took one. It was the only time it happened.
It's amazing. Like they're literally waiting for you.
Yeah.
But mine last year were super skittish and it took them a little bit. I mean, the regular, like not the hummingbirds, but the other birds, they didn't come to the feeder until this year.
Oh
Like
wow.
after January. I mean, I've been here since August and I had the bird feeder was one of the first things I put up and I could hear them, but I didn't see them.
Oh,
I'm very nervous. But I just saw I want to say it was a nuthatch sitting on my railing the other day. It was very exciting.
those are pretty cool.
Yes.
I heard a woodcock in my backyard a couple weeks ago, and I want to see one in person because they almost look like a kiwi because they have the big round body shape and the long nose, and they do the funny walk.
Yeah.
More of a nocturnal bird, so I've not actually seen it. I've just heard it.
You're a nocturnal bird. How about that? Yeah, and I keep hearing like on my app, it'll keep detecting a northern flicker, and I'm like, where? Show me where.
I had one of those on my feeder this morning, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have food out for you, buddy, because I've been out of town, so I gotta fill it up. But
Wait right
they're
there. I'll be right back.
they're pretty cool. Their sound is almost it almost sounds like a monkey to me.
Huh. Wow. Um, Sorry, y'all. We're bird people, clearly.
Once you
Um,
hit 40, it's all over. It's all about
get
birding.
the app and you're done. It's better than TV. Um, and then so let's talk. So we talked about the book a little bit. I mean, do you want to show some pictures? Like, because I know you're an artist.
Oh, like here.
Yeah, like there. So if you guys are on YouTube, check out the picture. I mean, Lauren is an incredible artist. She's got art all behind her. That's hers. And you won an award. Yes.
Um, Most recently, I was picked one of 18 out of 118 for it's called Surge on Winton, and uh, gosh, I'm gonna draw a blank on the maybe it's Springfield Township decided that they're going to decorate their electrical boxes, and one of my designs was picked, and I am so excited because oh no, George left. My dog was in here a second ago. George is one of the dogs on the electrical box, so I'm going to bring him over to the electrical box and get a picture with him. So it's really surreal. I usually work in like 10 by 14 or 9 by 12. This electrical box I think is about as tall as me, so it's I haven't seen it in person yet. I'm probably gonna cry. It's just so validating as an artist to be like, oh my gosh, somebody liked my work enough that they wrapped an electrical box in it, and it's gonna be part of this outdoor gallery with
Right.
17 other artists.
Well, it's just so cool that, first that they're choosing to do that. Like that's a really cool just to have it not be, that gray steel. Like they want to beautify the area. And what better way than to use local artists to, gosh, that's so cool. But I'm noticing now, like I could see the art, but for some reason my eyes just skipped over the blue ribbons.
Oh yeah, that was Fiona the hippo was she was a local legend in Cincinnati.
Oh, is that Fiona?
Yeah, my old boss went to the zoo, and I got to see Fiona up close, and I took a picture of her and then painted her, and she was my first prize that I won at the county fair. And then I have a couple other photographs that won. And then these three paintings that I did in Gatlinburg during my artist in residence experience. And it was a month long, and it was out in Sugarlands, National Park. And it quite an honor, but it was very lonely being out in the middle of the woods. It's November, so around 5 o'clock, it got dark, and they tell you not to wander around at night because you might run into a black bear because they kind of blend in. And we also got an email from the National Park Service saying, make sure you lock your doors because the bears are learning to open doors. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just stay inside at night, which was great because it gave me lots of opportunity to paint. And like in retrospect, I'm like, I wish I would have, like, I did enjoy the time while I was there for sure. But I remember thinking at one point, like, oh, why am I even here? I can just paint at home. I have been home since December, and I think I've painted maybe 3 things. And I painted 11 solid pieces like the ones you see hanging up. And then I did tons of practice, tons of photography. And it's an experience I'm never going to, well, hopefully I'll get it again. But, it is a once in a lifetime experience. I got to see a bear while I was hiking from a distance, which was really cool. And then my parents came into town, and we were going to celebrate Thanksgiving. And the day before, we're like, let's go to Bubba Gump's. And we're waiting outside of Bubba Gump's just in the sidewalk. And in my peripheral, I can see something walking down the sidewalk. And I'm like, that's not a human shape. And I kind of do a double take, and all it's coming out of my mouth is bear, bear, bear. like everybody's running to get inside, and I'm like grabbing my mom and trying to lead her away. And I'm like, man, if my mom wasn't there and I'm trying to lead her to safety,
Would have
I would
gotten
have
a
had my camera out, and I like, because it came within 5 feet of us. Like, I
Oh
got
my gosh.
closer to a bear in downtown Gatlinburg than I did when I was out, in the woods. In the woods, it was, maybe 100 yards away or so. And as soon as it saw me and like saw, like we made eye contact, it was like, nope, and it was gone. But they are pretty, how do I want to say this? Can I say ballsy on your podcast? They're pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
And they were getting into candy stores and stuff while I was down there. And those videos were all going viral. And I'm like, why can't I be walking around and see that? But it is unfortunate because the people are getting too close. And
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've heard stories of, I mean, like when people say, oh my gosh, there are coyotes in the road and they're all hours of the day and whatever, but like then there's we're taking over their territory. Like
yes.
we're building up the woods and we're taking away their home.
Yeah.
To move into our area.
And that's something that I try and do when I'm posting a picture or a photograph of an animal. I try and educate, if people even read the captions, I hope that they do. Um, you know, here are some steps that you can take because we have to learn how to coexist with these animals. They were here first, and we all benefit from each other, and they're not a nuisance. We just have to make space for them, and we have to figure out how to live with them.
Right? Oh gosh. I'm 5 feet. Dang.
They're a lot bigger than you think.
I can't no, I can't even imagine. Like I just I mean I must have seen one at a zoo sometime, but not that close.
Yeah, when there's no like protection or barrier there, it gets a little intimidating.
That is very close. You're very close. Wow. But that's that have you painted a bear yet?
Not yes, I've painted a bear, but not like to the detail like you see up here.
Yeah.
There are different levels, and I like to try and it's something that I do with a class that it's called brushstrokes and sound waves, and it's just intuitive painting, and just put the brush to the page and have fun, be a kid again, and
Mm,
explore. Like that's the only way you're going to get better.
that's awesome. So you turned to art, Lauren, to help to get through burnout. Is that
Yes.
I mean, you were painting before then, I assume, but not like
Yeah, I painted a lot in high school. I wanted to be an artist, and my parents were like, well, you can't really be an artist. Why don't you lean towards graphic design? And I did not excel in graphic design just because I don't like people telling me exactly what font they want and, doing it to their specifications when I'm like, well, I feel like it should be this way, and I think it looks beautiful that way. So I did spend a lot of time trying to do graphic design, and then I bounced around to a couple different things and then landed in the marine biology area. So I focused on science for a while, which was great because then I feel like I bring a conservation piece to my art now, and really focusing on the nature journaling because anybody can do that. You can do sound mapping, it could be a poem, it could be art. It's however you're feeling you want to express yourself in what you're seeing in nature.
yeah. I love that. I mean, and it's almost like you knew from the very beginning, like you wanted to do art and your parents were like, why don't you do something that will make you money?
Yeah. Which, funny story, biology doesn't make a lot of money.
Oops. Oops. But it got you where you are. I mean, that's, it's all part of the journey, right? And you're
Absolutely.
still doing art.
Yep.
Had the heartbreak and the exhaustion and all that stuff. But it all makes us better, right?
Yeah. It's all part of the story.
Well, so why don't you tell us about the podcast, Wildly Unplug, and because I know you had a name change, but it was because it didn't hit you like you thought it would. Or something?
Well, my art studio is called Wild Development Studio, and it's kind of a play on like wildlife, and developments like photography, because I do wildlife photography too. And I felt that wild developments for a podcast, it wasn't very clear as to what the message was. So I did change the name to Wildly Unplug. And I did notice as soon as I changed the name, and I also changed the graphic, I finally put my face on the cover. I guess people want to, see a face of who's talking, I guess. That's something I'm trying to get past too, because that's pretty vulnerable. And I did double in my listenership when I changed the name. So I felt like it was a good move, but the message has stayed the same all throughout. It's stories of art and conservation and nature. And when I'm asking people to be on the show, I'm like, hey, you want to come on my show and talk about your experiences in nature? Oh, I don't have anything. And I get so discouraged because we're all a part of nature. And we just put ourselves in these little air conditioned boxes or heated boxes and are so plugged in that we forget how connected we are to nature. And that was another reason why I wanted to start the book. But I've had scuba divers on the show that have dove with thrasher sharks, and she just had a dive. I was watching her this week. She was diving with manta rays in the middle of the night, and they're all circling her, and it's so beautiful. I've had a couple authors on the show. Claire Walker Leslie, who is like one of the top people for nature journaling. I had her on. She was talking about her most recent book, which is all about birds, because in 2020, she realized when she was out and about walking around, when, we were able to socialize,
yeah,
birding was a pretty safe thing to talk about. And it, got a lot of people excited. So she talks about that in the podcast. So every story is amazing. They can be simple and relaxing stories. And I've had some where there was a guy that he did a fundraiser where he dressed a car like a shoe and drove across Africa. And just these wild stories. And they were doing fundraisers for different wildlife programs and stuff. And he runs a safari in Africa. So big or small, all the nature stories are welcome.
Wow. That's really cool. I love the podcast. It's super fun. Um, and so sharks, really? I'm sure they're beautiful from a distance, just like bears.
Well, I mean, that was my previous job, was diving with sharks all the time and doing dive shows. I love doing the dive shows. And it was one of my favorite things to do, is to talk to the guests about changing perspectives. And, Jaws, I mean, I was terrified of sharks in the pool when I was a kid. Like, I could swear I could see a shadow of a shark in the deep end every time I was in the pool. And to go from that to being able to dive with sharks, it took me a couple years of working on the dry side and watching these animals and getting to know the patterns and getting to see each one has a personality. And I'm watching other divers go into the water and they're fine. They're all coming back with their limbs. And honestly, it was the sea turtle that was a little bit of a troublemaker. And
Snippy?
They do try, and they're curious, and the only way to explore is with the mouth, and they do have a powerful jaw. Thankfully, there were no injuries or anything like that. But when I had first started there were two sea turtles, and one of them would swim in front of the divers. I mean, this is just like a velociraptor. Swim in front of the divers, get their attention, and then the other one would come up from behind and try and like bite at the tank or their fins or whatever. So they were totally working together to try and mess with the divers. So you actually had to keep an eye out for them more than the sharks. So it's always fun telling people that you're more likely to get hit on the head by a coconut, or attacked by a cow, or get struck by lightning, which, hello, I've been struck by lightning, never been bit by a shark. So.
And that was your job.
Yeah.
So
And
you did it a lot.
mm-hmm,
Wow. You've been struck by lightning?
mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh gosh. And it's such a cool, I just love, it's fun to get to hear everyone, because everyone's story is different and it's also personal for them. And so it's like it is very much like journaling, right? Like you're getting their heart, a little bit of
Yeah.
their heart in their story, and then to know what in nature touches people differently because everything is different for everyone. Um, I feel like I get to know people really well by, what hits their heart
Yeah.
out in nature.
Yeah. And the storytelling, I think, is great for helping people to be a guide for somebody else who might be going through something similar, or maybe it sparks an idea that you never thought of before. So
Mhm.
I love when people share their stories.
Yeah, for sure. And so one of the things that we were talking about, and I sort of spilled it earlier, but one of the things that you had said in your guest form was, we were sort of joking about it, but like shut your phone off, like put the phone away, and look, just open your eyes and see what's outside. And that's just, it's such a simple thing, but it's also so powerful because like you said, we're in these air conditioned or heated boxes and we're not aware of what's happening outside. And there's so much outside.
Yeah.
So it just, and I'm going to lose my words, but that feeling connected to nature, feeling that connection that we have because we are nature. We're all nature. We're made of water and cells just like everything. And that so just being aware of that and then looking out and saying, "Oh my gosh, like that's part of me too. That's part of me too." And that's just, and especially right now when it's spring, like and everything is starting to get green and flowers are coming out and food, is growing and stuff like that. Like I don't know. Nature's pretty awesome.
It is. I've got seasons where I live. So just today, I noticed on my light post, I forget the name of the flower, but it's a vine. It's not a morning glory, and it's these big, beautiful purple flowers that bloom around this time of year. So, season,
Clematis?
is it begin with an A?
No.
What did you say?
Clematis?
Maybe I'll send you a picture later. But it's just, like, oh, it's this time of year again because I'm seeing that flower, or the dark-eyed Junos, the bird. I know winter's coming because they're hopping around in my yard again.
Yeah.
So there's all these signs that, you got to interview the Farmer's Almanac. I
I
have yet
know.
to listen to that episode. I need to, as soon as we hang up, I'm going to listen to that episode. But how did that go? I mean, that's very connected with nature.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Like I mean, I didn't realize that the Old Farmer's Almanac was developed by an astronomer. I can never remember.
I know he doesn't do horoscopes. He studies the stars.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that
Yeah,
guy.
I mean that makes sense.
It totally does, but it's not something that you're just like, oh yeah, you're talking about the seasons. That's cool. But and what happens around each season. But it's so much more. It's like it's literally science,
Yeah.
not just watching things. It's science. But she was so, so nice. Very Carol. Carol is her name. Super cool.
Very cool. It's like the great thing about having a podcast is you can email someone and be like, "Hey, I have this show on sustainability or about connecting with nature. Can you talk to me?" And you get to talk to all these really cool people from all over the place.
Hmm. Or nature. I mean, there's nature everywhere, and so you can talk to people anywhere.
Hmm.
That's awesome. So Lauren, when I say the word sustainability to you, what does that mean?
Oh, so many things.
Right?
And well, I just did a beach cleanup in Key West on Saturday, and what breaks my heart the most is seeing all the microplastics everywhere. and seeing all the plastic bottles, and that is not sustainable. I mean, and we are producing it at such a huge amount all the time. And I get angry because it's the corporations that are making the plastic and they have the power to change it. But it's so easy and portable that people keep buying it. So that's what's so frustrating. So I love carrying around a reusable water bottle and filling up my water bottle at the airport has the stations where you can fill up after you go through TSA, of course, and carrying that around and finding little ways, because it's the little steps that you do that are going to add up. And if you have to use plastic, fine, recycle it, but aluminum's better. It's infinitely recyclable. And God, there's so many things I can say about sustainability.
I know there's so many aspects. I'm the same. I'm like, one is like adding less to the landfill, and another is, just reusing and making your own and stuff like that. And there are just so many ways. And so that's why, and it's different for everyone, just like everything.
Yeah. And it's just like with nature, find what excites you and what you think you can do. I used to run the resource conservation team, and I, once a month put out an email or give a speech at work and talk to people about ways that they can help with sustainability, like bringing reusable bags with you to the grocery. If that's something that's easy for you to do it. If carrying around a water bottle is easy for you to do, start there. And then once you get the hang of that, try something else. Step outside your comfort zone and do a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. And that's, a lot of people have said that, start small, and then, once you kind of nail something and it's easy to do and it just feels natural, then it's easy to also add something else on, because you need to be pushing yourself a little bit just to, keep your mind working, and also to just, there's no reason not to. There's just no reason not to. But so how can people find you? How can people grab Wildly Unplug or listen to Wildly Unplug?
So Wild Development Studio is on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram, not as active on Facebook. And it's all just Wild Development Studio. I'm also on TikTok sometimes. Email wilddevelopmentstudio@gmail.com. The podcast is Wildly Unplug, and that's on every place you can listen to a podcast. The book is available on Amazon, and I think I covered it all.
Yeah. Is it available it's available everywhere, or is it mostly on Amazon, the book?
It's on Amazon. I have it on a couple stores locally in the Loveland area, and I need to work on putting it on my website. I'll probably do that as I'm listening to your podcast episode on
Carol Connor. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, I mean, this has been super fun. I love learning about, what drives people and what soothes people and what makes people feel peace. And that's, it's all nature for you.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And I think your art is beautiful. I really do. And I'm so glad that people are noticing that, and that you get to, you're going to be on the big box.
Electrical box. Yeah. It took many years, and I just put out a podcast episode on that, because gosh, that's so hard for artists. Is that whole scene is the events and being seen, and also for the book, just keep trying. Your voice is important. Keep going. You will find and land where you're supposed to be.
Right. And if you have a great nature story that you want to share, you hit Lauren up.
Yes.
Wherever she's found. And I'll have everything in the show notes, you guys. So Lauren, thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, Amy, thank you so much. I'm so glad thank you for your flexibility.
Of course. Of course. I just want to take a second to thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I love having these conversations with folks. I also want to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her music genius, for Becca Coffron and her award-winning artwork. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that so much. Please check out the show notes for any links and extra information. And if you would like to follow my guest and find out more about them, I'm sure they would love the follow. And if you don't mind leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening, and just help to get this podcast in front of new eyes, that would be amazing. I would really love that. And feel free to reach out to me on the socials and let me know what you're thinking. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know that. I would love to have a conversation with you about sustainability. All right. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the hate with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. When that state of grace has finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder,